So out of all the stories I've come across over the last couple of years to illustrate what exactly late stage capitalism looks like, none of them have ever come as close as a new television show that has just been announced by True TV called Paid Off. Now, what this show is it's a game show like The Price is Right or The Wheel of Fortune, and instead of rewarding winners with money, they pay off their student loan debt. And the whole premise of the show is centered around that concept of ameliorating this student loan crisis one winner at a time. Not even making this up. So as Tara Ariano of Slate explains, premiering Tuesday on True TV, Paid Off with Michael Torpey is pretty traditional for the genre. There are 3 rounds of play in which contestants buzz in to answer trivia questions and earn points. What sets it apart from other entries in the genre is what happens in the final round. If the top contestant answers 8 trivia questions correctly, she wins a cash prize equal to the balance she owes on her student loans, because the contestant pool for Paid Off is the more than 40 million Americans who hold student loan debt. The last recession was fueled in part by a mortgage crisis. Economists warned that the U.S. may suffer a student loan crisis next. A study earlier this year found that 2 in 5 borrowers were likely to default. Filing for bankruptcy may not allow a borrower to discharge her student loan, since undue hardship is the standard she must meet, despite the fact that the term has never been legally defined and can be liberally interpreted by a presiding judge. According to 83% of millennial borrowers, student loan debt is a bigger impediment to their potential home ownership than budget-busting servings of avocado toast. Oppressive student loan debt is not the only factor contributing to millennials' declining economic mobility, but even the Conservative Heritage Foundation names it as a significant cause. So I feel really torn on the show itself, right? Because it's exploiting a crisis that really plagues millions of Americans. And there's something inherently gross about that. But at the same time, the article contends that the show itself does try to tackle the issue in a serious way. But at the end of the day, it is still making light of it. So look, I'm torn on this. Will a game show solve the student loan crisis? Of course not. But think about this. This is what people have to resort to when you have a predatory, unfettered, capitalistic system where everything has been commodified. Everything. Healthcare, education. It's all about profit and not about the delivery of goods, the delivery of healthcare, the delivery of education. If you want to pay off your healthcare bills, what do? Well, you turn to GoFundMe. Now, if you want your student loan debt paid off, what do? You go on Paid Off on True TV. I mean, the fact that it's come to this, it really speaks to how far we've fallen morally as a society. I mean, you often hear conservatives, namely evangelicals, talk about the moral decline of America because we've taken God out of the schools, we've taken God out of public places. This signifies the moral decline of America. If students feel as though they might be able to pay off their student loan debt by going on a fucking game show, that's moral decline. It shows you what's wrong with our for-profit healthcare and education system. There are things that should be off the table in modern egalitarian societies. You shouldn't die or go bankrupt if you have a healthcare emergency. You shouldn't be burdened with debt for the rest of your life if you decide to get an education to make yourself more competitive when it comes to employment. Yeah, this is one of those stories where I just kind of feel kind of embarrassed, to be an American. There was an article published by Newsweek that Ben Shapiro wrote asking why it's the case that liberals are less proud to be Americans than conservatives. And really, Ben, it's because we put facts over feelings. It's the fact that the American dream is dead. We know this. It's a fact. The Canadian dream is alive. The American dream is dead. We're not taking care of our people. We're spending all this money. We're giving up huge portions of our paycheck. We're paying our taxes. And what are we getting in return? We're getting wars. We're getting tax cuts for the wealthy. Well, I say enough is enough. I don't want to pay for that shit anymore. I want a federal jobs guarantee. I want housing security. I want universal free college and Medicare for all. These are things that they're non-negotiable if you truly care about your population. But in America, we don't care about our population. This is what we care about. Profits. We prioritize profits over people. And there's a large number of people in this country that characterize themselves as pro-life, but I don't see those individuals speaking out against the lives that are lost every year from people who can't afford healthcare. I don't see them speaking out against the lives that are lost due to the wars that we are waging with, 8 countries now? So, honestly, it's just really a depressing story. I don't know what else to say about this. I couldn't not talk about this because it speaks to how far we've fallen as a society, that a game show is perhaps a more feasible option for some people of paying off their student debt than actually finding a job that will allow them to pay off their student debt and actually, not getting that debt in the first place, since education is so expensive. I mean, it's grotesque.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.